It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline. Okay, now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily with positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
It is time for our positive vibes only segment, and you guys are in for a treat this week. This guest, Reggie Oliver, is a talent like no other, and this is honestly just the beginning. He's a dancer, choreographer. He is not just a dancer and choreographer, but he's performed with big names like Toni Braxton, Kiki, Macklemore, K. Michelle, Nickelodeon. He's in Pitbull's latest commercial. I see you all the time on TV. Reggie, thank you so much for joining the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So I don't want to shorten your list. I know you are doing amazing things. You know, I look at some of the ones that jump out at me, but for our listeners, take us through the performances with artists like Keke Palmer and Toni Braxton, those big stages that you've been on so far in your career.
Well, yeah, those artists, Toni Braxton, Keke Palmer, K. Michelle, all those artists, they without the help of Rosero McCoy, who is like my mentor, the guy who actually choreographs Keke Palmer and Toni Braxton, a lot of those jobs wouldn't have been possible. He, saw a lot of good things in me, and he was able to pull those things out of me, and put me on stages. I've been able to assist him for certain jobs. And, it's really just cool, like I grew up watching Wildin' Out and seeing Keke Palmer on TV. So the fact that I get to dance right behind her, even with Toni Braxton, like, he wasn't man enough for me. I'm sure everybody knows that song. And, right before I danced with her, I was at a restaurant and the song came on. And I was like, yo, it'd be really cool to like dance to this song. And then weeks later, I was dancing for her Long As I Live track. So, all these things are just like really surreal moments for me that, sometimes, you really have a moment and it's just like, yo, like I'd have never expected to, be with this person at the moment. So it's really cool. It's very humbling and it's always gonna just, inspire me to keep dreaming and to just keep expecting the unexpected.
Absolutely. That is such an incredible moment, I'm sure, when you have that phone call and that conversation, and then it becomes a reality as you're now practicing for a performance, and then to perform live. It's like all these moments that are like reality checks, like this is actually happening, when you first got started in music, to be able to get to this point. But you've also now broken into TV in another way, because you have done live performances, but you've also been in commercials. Every time I can remember what the Pitbull commercial is for. It's so sad, because all I do is look for you, and if I'm with other people, I'm like, I know him. That's my cousin. Which, for those of you listening, yes, Reggie is now my cousin-in-law. He just married my first cousin. So, what TV commercial? What's been in the work on that side of things as well?
So it was a commercial for Boost Mobile. And the choreographer was Anna. She's gonna kill me for messing up her last name. I think it's like Matsutsky. I met her in Seattle when I danced for Macklemore a few years ago, and she actually just texted me. She was like, "Hey, like I got an opportunity coming up. Are you free the end of October?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" She was like, "Oh, I want to put you on this commercial." And Kaya and I, my wife, she well, you know who she is, they don't, but we literally every time we go on like our anniversary vacation, or when the new year starts, we write down our goals. And one of my goals was to book either a commercial or to book a holiday special, because I'm getting older now, and well, I'm not that old. I just turned 27 in November, but
I was gonna say, because I'm 27, so let's watch it with the old.
Well, I mean, dancers it's like dog years, but
This is true.
But so I just, as I'm developing in this profession and in this career, it's really important to just learn how to allow your money to make money for you over the course of time. So
I like
commercials
that.
and yeah, so commercials and holiday specials, things that run more than once, they'll give you residuals or a big buyout. So something that a lot of young dancers don't really think about right now, especially even dancers my age, we're not thinking about it a lot of the times because we're trying to get to the next job. And fortunately for me, like things are set up to where I don't necessarily have to worry about getting to the next big job because I've been able to create things along the way to give myself a steady income through dance and to even possibly create longevity for myself once I decide maybe I don't want to be on set anymore. Like maybe I want to start directing or just full-fledged choreographing. So, things like that come into play. But I did the commercial with Pitbull. It was for Boost Mobile, and Anna is like the dopest soul that I'll ever meet, like in the dance realm. She we had 2 days of rehearsal, and her vibe's just crazy. We all created it in 2 rehearsals. We shot for 2 days. It was the most non-stressful job I've ever had in my life. And we had a good time. It was a party on the set, and all the cast was, they were all dope. And Hannah Wintrode, she also assisted Anna. So everybody there was just like a dope spirit. So when you're having fun at work, it's not really work.
Yeah, that's, what, I love a lot of the different pieces of what you just said, starting with the fact that you are always constantly looking to branch your, and build your
Hmm.
own identity so that you can prepare for what's next, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of times in our careers we get so stuck on the now, or maybe we're too stuck on the end goal that we're worried about those sleep,
Hmm.
a big step in itself. But for you also, taking a step back, you talk about being older in the career, which now, I won't take offense to that. I do get that. As with any sport or anything like that, you do always have, there's like a ceiling age wise that once you get to a certain number, you're starting to be considered old. So yes, you are
Hmm.
older in that sense. So
Yeah.
let's go back to the beginning, because music has brought you through and to so many stages, as we talk about being in commercials, performing beside people like Pitbull and Toni Braxton, and being on live, BET Awards and big stages like that.
Hmm.
So let's go back to the beginning where it all started, because I'm sure
Hmm.
you didn't expect to get to this point. When did you start? What made you even get into dancing? Let's go back to young Reggie.
so, so young Reggie, so my mom was a dancer, and well, she, like back in Philly, she would dance at the block party, so she would pop and do
Okay.
things like that. So that kind of became like a natural thing for our family. Like in the living room, we would just, my sister, my brother, and I. My brother is the one with the least amount of rhythm, but we would all just dance in the living room, and we didn't have cable at a certain point. So what I used to do is I used to, create little mixtapes. I used to use the cassette tape, and I would record the music over my mom's sermons. And eventually I got in trouble for it. But like my mom would, she
It's
was a
okay.
pastor. So I would record my mixtapes over her sermons, and I would use those to practice to. And then she also had Motown 25 where Michael Jackson performed. So those two things kind of elevated my want to
Mm-hmm.
perform and things like that. And just the musical aspect too. I was a drummer, so music's always been in my body. Like my family's heavily rooted in the gospel industry. Even before I was a dancer, like I drummed at a lot of churches. I got to play for a church of Bishop Paul Morton, and I was featured on one of his albums. So that was pretty cool too. And all of that musical experience and just being around pastors and just people who love to sing and enjoyed music. Like I don't remember many times where my family wasn't together when they weren't like singing or something. So I had an uncle Junie who was a music producer, and basically like on Thanksgiving after the family ate and everything, he would go to the piano, family would gather around, and it a Hallmark scenario, but
I
they would
love
all
it.
sing and sing gospel hymns and all that stuff. So like those are the memories I have as a kid that kind of carried me musically into adulthood, that made me want to pursue dance and music and things like that.
Wow. I love that family back, was the foundation of what inspired you to want to get into music.
Oh yeah.
It started at home. It started with a genuine love for music, being in parts, in all aspects of music, as a drummer, in church growing up, with your family, with your mom, and having that background of just being in a house of music, which we don't always see nowadays. A lot of families,
Mm.
especially with technology and the way that everyone just is in their own separate corners on their phones, on their tablets. We don't always see those
Oh yeah.
Hallmark movie
Hmm.
moments where everyone just sitting around, no TV on, just talking, dancing, laughing, having fun. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which leads me to have to ask, I feel like a lot of kids and a lot of people that are in music in some way, whether as a singer, a dancer, or even they play an instrument, were kids that got in trouble
Hmm.
for that. And so he's like dancing around class or whatever it may be, that growing up, maybe your teachers were always like, all right, Reggie, have a seat. Or, everything turned into a tune with you.
Well, ironically, no.
Ah,
So,
okay.
like in elementary school and things like that, like I could always dance and stuff, but I also played sports too. So, the dancing part of me was a little shyer back then. So I say like elementary school when I was doing Pop Warner football, or in middle school when I was playing football and basketball, like I was the athlete. So dancing was
Okay.
something that when I would do it, they'd be like, stick to sports, Reggie. Like, and I'm from
How
Williamsport,
ironic.
Pennsylvania. So, they didn't really know what I was doing. Now, if I did that and when we would visit Philadelphia, then the neighbors would be like, oh, you got something going on. But Williamsport, they're not used to that. And now the tables have turned, and when I go back home to Williamsport, they're like, Reggie, like, dude, we're so proud. And but I would say like maybe into high school, dancing allowed me to get away with anything. I remember
Mm.
yeah, I remember I had a biology teacher, Mr. Hansberry, and we took a test one time, and he was like, Reggie, like, you're trying to be a dancer, right? I was like, yeah. He was like, so does anything on this test have anything to do with what you want to do in life? I was like, no. He's like, all right, B minus. So I'll say like, things like that
Wow.
occurred. I don't know how many people would get away with that these days, but
No.
it was stuff like that. So like I feel like in high school, or when I really started coming into myself and knowing that that's what I wanted, like the teachers and everybody basically knew I was going to be successful before I knew.
Mm. Oh, that's great, because you sometimes get the opposite where people are kind of trying to beat down your dream and telling you
Mhm.
that it's not going to happen, whereas you had people that were in your corner, especially once you got to high school. So then that leads me to
Mhm.
wonder, what was the moment where it went from being something you did for fun on the side along with sports to something that was a passion, that you really took that next step in your career to pursue it heavily?
Well, I mean, I eventually, I'd say like before I wanted to pursue dance, like I almost went to the Air Force. So my family is very rooted in
Wow.
the gospel, and then the other half of my family is very militant. So the recruiter never showed up, and I was graduating, and I was walking across the stage. I was like, dude, I got to do something, because everybody. I had, I was really decorated at my graduation too, because I was in a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
clubs and things in my senior year. But everybody, had a college attached to whatever that, they were called for, and I didn't. So I tried college online, didn't really work out. And that was really the moment where I was like, all right, well, this is what I'm good at, so I'm gonna try it. And that's really, I really had the opportunity my senior year to fall in love with dancing too, because I would skip lunch many days, or I was in the student government room, the SGA, so they allowed me to be in a lot of the school activities. So I really just got to dance that whole year, and that even led to me getting a scholarship from the principal. My mom didn't sign me up for any scholarships, and Miss Hope, she was a African American principal, and she was like, dude, you got so much talent and your mom didn't sign you up for anything. And I was like, nah. And that woman got me a $1,500 scholarship just because of dancing.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so like,
Wow.
that kind of set the tone for me right there. So I was like, like, okay, like maybe I do have something going on. And honestly, my family wasn't the most supportive at the time, because when you're entering a realm that people aren't familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
they instantly get scared and they don't want you to make the same mistakes that they made. So, it was a tough breakthrough, but we got it done.
Yeah, the path untaken is tough because you haven't had anybody in your family or someone that you can refer to that went that same direction and was successful.
Hmm.
So I feel like that's a lot of times, because I even have people that reach out to me that say they're interested in being a sports reporter, but they don't
Mm.
have nobody in their family is big into sports or has been in the journalism field. So to them, it's foreign territory. So it's strange.
Yeah.
It's not possible. And you hear
Hmm.
that a lot of times when someone is doing something new. New is
Yeah.
sometimes, intimidating. So
Hmm.
now that you have overcome, all that adversity to get to where you are now, and I know there's more parts to your story than just what you shared today,
Hmm.
what would be your message looking back to your younger self, or even to a kid or someone that's aspiring to pursue a dream that maybe is a path untaken, that they
Yeah.
aren't sure if that's worth taking that leap of faith?
I mean, the biggest advice, and I say this to my students now, like the only person that can tell you no is yourself. Like the only reason that you're not ready for a job or a big opportunity, only reason you're not ready for that is because you told yourself no first, and then you gave someone else the opportunity to tell you no because you told yourself no. And that no
Mm.
can be in not training. That no can be in not waking up in the morning because you felt like sleeping in that day when someone else is waking up trying to do the same exact thing you're doing, or just telling yourself you're not good enough. So, don't tell yourself no. And I would tell my younger self that for sure, if I was able to, because I feel like, if I could, then I'd probably be way further. I probably would have done things differently. I probably would have asked more questions. I probably would have, taken that trip to New York a little sooner. Like, who knows, So, a lot of fear comes with no, and, people are afraid of what they can't see. So, don't tell
Hmm.
yourself no and just really walk on faith.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much, as you touch on. There's so much in the power of your mentality and your approach to things. By
Hmm.
telling yourself yes and that something is possible, as you have done, you can do the impossible. You can make your dreams a reality, as you've done. So, Reggie, what's next for you? And then where can our listeners follow along with you in your journey as you are continuing to reach new heights? It seems like every time I look, you're either performing or you're out doing something that you've done before.
Well, I can't say too much about it, but I did get a
Absolutely.
really, really good ambassador slash future endorsement through a big water company. And so my goal honestly is to, I'm going to continue to book the jobs and work with the artists and do the commercials. Like I want to do a million more of everything that I've already done. But I also want to change the demographic of how dancers are viewed as just dancers. How once we reach a certain age,
Mm.
we wither away and, we're just OGs that, have nothing but memories. I want us to be viewed as, taken as seriously as the basketball player or the NFL player. There aren't many dancers that have sports endorsements, or there aren't dancers that are the face of a company or the main representative or icon of a brand. So I want to challenge myself to change that, so whatever the future holds for myself in this water company. And I just got another opportunity, literally getting off the plane today, for a clothing ambassador partnership. So it's like I want to be the
All
face
right.
of those types of things. I want people to see that and be like, oh snap, like no, that's Reggie's on his name is attached to that brand. things like that. I'm working on being a director and just working on my choreography and things like that. So that way, 2 years from now, I can create other opportunities. There's something else I can't really speak too much on, but it's with an amusement park. I've been working with them for a few, and they're working on bringing me in as one of the creative directors and choreographers. So that's really cool. And, I'm just really stretching my hand at, new opportunities and things that a lot of people would be scared to go on.
Yes, I love it. Breaking ceilings, paving the way, and changing, what your industry is seen as. And I love that
Hmm.
you're trying to do something new to trailblaze
Hmm.
dancers, as being more than just dancers. And that's a great point.
Yeah.
Whenever you are in something, I know even as a female, in most situations, being the minority, you're always trying to look to help the next generation. You talk about
Hmm.
possibly being, a little too late or not having realized things as soon as you would have liked, but now you can help
Hmm.
inspire and impact so many more people through what you've learned. So thank you
Oh, yeah.
so much. I really appreciate you joining us for our Positive Vibes Only
No
segment
problem.
this week.
Thanks
I
for
love
having
your
me.
story. I love your journey. I mean, aside from the fact that you're family, but I'm very family or not, you are doing amazing things, and I wish you
Nah, thank you.
nothing but the best moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you.